Right, today I'm going to be discussing the Modeless enhancements that have been applied to Magnet Office, and namely the more common ones that we use in Survey and Site. So firstly, under Modify, you have an Edit Entity option in there, and also under Insert, you have Create Entity, Edit Entity. So it's under those two options there. So if we go to Create Edit Entity, it displays docked to the left hand side of your screen the Entity Manager. And just to tell you what you can do with the Entity Manager, when the drawing pin is vertically down, it means that it's docked. And if I click on that, it means it's then hidden away. So every time to display it, you just put your cursor or mouse cursor over the Entity Manager, and it will then display that particular function. Right clicking it, set on auto hide. So if I set to docking, just by clicking that drawing pin there, it'll put it back to dock mode. You can also grab the Entity Manager and becomes floating mode. So as you can see on screen there, it comes up with various arrows, and that means you can place this particular screen, if you have a second monitor, on that monitor, and just keeps it out of the way and keeps your full screen available. So I'll just set it to docking at the moment. So under the Create mode, it's not activated at this stage, but when you click on Create, it gives you the different options you can use for creating. So under the list there, you've got points, lines, arc, strings, polylines, polygon, boundary, lot, and pad. And the vertices, this is what you can actually do when you're creating the points, whether it's interpolating the elevation off existing DTM, the elevation which you can set, or you can tick both those boxes and there have views and surface. So what you can do is, I've just got it on points at this stage, so what I can do is it's all ready for me to locate my first point or line as shown in the bottom left hand corner there. So if I just snap on screen, so I'll snap on screen because I'm creating points on points, and as you can see, it start putting them on the bottom left hand corner there of the screen as I'm mouse position, basically the easting and northing of those points that I've created. So I'll now cancel out of that. I don't want to create those entities. So that's the Create option for Entity Manager. Also up on the menu bar there, you have Edit Entity, or also you can have the tab there. So if I click on Edit, click on the Edit button there, these are options that you can edit. So line, arc, string, polyline, etc. So those are the two functions that are used quite often, is creating the entity and editing the entity. So I'll just close that. And the other one is under Modify. So under Modify, left hand side is Edit Points. So if I click on Edit Points, and this stage, because by default it picks up all active layers, so that's displayed on screen, all the points and point numbers, easting, northing, elevations, codes, etc. And what I've got on my particular screen here, I've got additional columns that are basically shown in there, which is color, symbol, X scale, Y scale, and attributes. And how I did that was, in that little grey box to the left hand side of point number, I just right click, go to configure, and by default, when you first open that screen, it will come up with point number, easting, northing, Z, elevation, code, and layer. And what I've done is append to the end of layer these abbreviated letters here. And each one of those abbreviated letters has a description of what each one of those are. So what I did was, after layer, which is the L there, place a space, then enter the abbreviated letters for what I want to show, like color, symbol, X scale, Y scale, and attributes. So I've applied those to my multi-point edit screen. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll do it by selection this time. So if I click on selection, it clears that screen. I'm just going to put a window around these trees here, as shown on screen. So I've got point number 39, point number 6 and point number 41. So what I'm going to do is modify point number 6, which is that bottom one there, and it's shown on the top of that screen. So I'll slide my slider bar right across, and I'm going to change the X and Y scale. That happens to be the radius, by the way, and I'll show you how we can actually do that. Set up by radius instead of diameter. So I'll change that to say 12 meters radius of the foliage from the trunk. And what you do is then go apply, and you'll notice that the tree now has got larger in size. Okay, so if I double click on that point, I'll show the X and Y scale as 12. So I'll just cancel out of that. Okay, I've just quickly opened up another job which is showing some attributes for points on here. For example, if I just double click on that point there, go into attributes, displays a depth to invert of 2.25 meters. Okay, so back into modify, edit points, and I'll just do it by selection and select some of these points over here, put a window around it, and it's displaying those two stormwater manholes and a couple of trees. So if I wanted to modify the attributes of a point, say for example point number 2, which is at the top there, what I'll do is just slide across to the side, and the last column that I had labelled in there was attributes. So all I have to do is go into the double arrow button there, click on that, and it's got the attribute value there of depth to invert of 2.25. So if I change that to say 1.85 and go OK and apply, it's now changed that particular depth to invert value. If I went into the attributes again and ticked value only, go OK, go apply, I'll just put the value of 1.85 deep beside the point. So it's quite a good idea to have the attributes in there. If you do have attributes assigned to your different codes, if you have the attributes column in there, all you do is tick the right hand or that arrow button there, and it will show different values in there so that you can change. Okay, so that's basically how you do multi-point edit with attributes using the Modeless screen. And how I set that up so to be radius instead of diameter. If you go to settings, project settings, and the bottom right here under unit settings is scalable symbols. If by default it's set to 1, which means diameter or equals diameter. If you set it to 2, it then becomes a radius. That distance value then is a radius out from the trunk. Okay. And then finally there's another Modeless screen which is available in the green triangle button. When you go to DTM settings, click on that, and it displays the DTM manager. Again, you can hide it out the side, or have it docked, or have it floating by just grabbing it and then moving it around to a second monitor. So I'll just leave it at docking at this stage. Now I have a DTM in here. You can create a new DTM if you wanted to, or I've got an existing DTM here. So if I click on mesh, it displays the DTM or the surface model in there. And if I click on contours, it will display the contours. And you can, so you have your various options for mesh, contours, the color that of the DTM. I can change that to another color if I wanted to, and it's now changed color, and it can have color fill. So all those, if you want to create a new DTM, just go down the bottom there where it says new, click on that, and it creates a new DTM. And if you want to go to the settings, go into settings, and you can change the contour interval, the contour label, etc. in here. So that's basically the three main options. It's create, edit, managers for the Modeless design, and then also DTM manager, which has now got a Modeless screen. It's also available if you have magnet office site in the corridor design. That's the end of the session.